Well, the campaign and that wonderful convention are over. And I have a problem. Fully a week and a half after the convention, after thinking about it for some time, my problem is simply how do I thank everyone who was even connected in that 8 weeks of hard work, in that 8 weeks of fun, and in those 3 or 4 days in downtown Toronto, when everybody worked their hearts out, when everybody, I hope, made new friends, and when everyone came out of it, I hope, feeling both exhilarated and a lot of people perhaps feeling depressed as well. My problem is simply how do I thank you all? A letter is simply not good enough. Even a phone call isn't simply good enough. I think you need, certainly I need, some permanent record of that convention and that campaign. Tapes of some of the festivities, and therefore my hope is that you'll keep this, play it now and then just to bring back memories, and I hope those memories will be fond ones, will be refreshing ones. They certainly will be for Maura and myself.
Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, will be the Honorable Allan Lawrence.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen delegates, for the past 4 weeks, my wife and I have crisscrossed this province, and in speeches that I have been making, and I hope talks rather than speeches with most of you here tonight, I've attempted to discuss the issues that have been referred to by my colleagues tonight, here from this platform. So that tonight I thought I'd pull a little bit of a switch, and instead I wanted to talk to you about our convention, about our party, about our people, and about our future. First of all, about our convention. You know, Britain evolved a political system upon which our parliamentary system is patterned. But I hope you'd agree with me that we have developed in this country some very substantial improvements. For instance, in the British Conservative Party, when the Prime Minister or a party leader steps down, his successor is chosen by a vote of the parliamentary party. The parliamentary party, that is, by the elected members of Parliament. Now here in Ontario, and here in Canada, we have developed a different, and in my mind, a far more democratic system. We have decided that our leader should be chosen by the party's supporters. The rank and file of those who subscribe to our party's principles and policies, we have decided, should choose delegates to represent them, and those delegates, that's you, then select the party leader. Thus, in our province and in our party, it is the grassroots and not the brass that really controls our party. Now, I know there are some who would try to tell you otherwise. I know that there are some who would try to tell you that the result of next week's election and convention is already cut and dry. We know that that is not so. You know that that is not so, or we'd all be wasting our time here tonight. The truth is that this party must not have a dominating hierarchy, nor a power block representing special interests. In our system, all must be equal. The vote of a delegate from Hamilton must and does carry exactly the same weight at that convention next week as the vote of any cabinet minister or any MPP. That is one of the reasons why I am a candidate, and why I am sure that is the reason why there are others on this platform here tonight as well. The decision to be made by you next week is a decision that is a tribute to our own democratic traditions. It is a decision to be made by conservatives. There is no hierarchy. There is no pecking order. And thank God, there are only devoted, concerned members of the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario, and all in our system, all are part of that essential decision-making process. Now, it's obvious that in matters of provincial policy, the differences between the candidates here on the platform are on our present-day policy will be marginal. After all, we were, and after all, we are members of the same government, loyal to the same leader, and solidly in support of the same governmental policies. Whatever our differences in these matters, they were never so great as to represent a violation of individual conscience. This is obvious. The record of the Robarts government is our record. I am proud, personally, of that record, as we all are here tonight. I have no fault to find with that record, and had I been honored to be Premier of this great province over the last 10 years, I would have felt that I have achieved a great deal for the overall good of the people of this province. But that is the past. Because now, we must begin again. The past does not entitle us to the future. The people of Ontario owe much, owe so much, to the faithful stewardship of John Robarts. But the people of Ontario owe nothing to his successor. What, they will ask, does the new leader represent for the next decade in Ontario? What kind of leadership will he provide? What are his opinions? The people of Ontario, and you, the delegates to that convention next week, have every right to know. And I suggest to you that we should be realistic about our position. That convention next week will not win us the next election. What the people will look for is the degree to which the Conservative Party of Ontario becomes a new party, summoning new talents, inviting fresh recruits to its cause. I do not believe that we can enter the 70s with the same cast as the 60s, less John Robarts. The people of Ontario will expect us to be renewed, not remodeled. They want a new government, not an old one under a new name. Now review the election results in our urban areas. They show what I might best describe as slippage. Slippage. The beginnings of alienation of the young from our party. a decline in the support of working people, a lack of confidence from the various groups of new Canadians, and a real feeling of being left out among our senior citizens. I have said this before, and it should certainly be said again. We, in this party, represent all of the people of this province, or we will represent none. When the day comes that the party of Leslie Frost or the party of John Robarts becomes ruled by clique or by class, then we will not only be removed from power, we will deserve to be removed from power. Now, I was personally drawn into this party and into the affairs of government and political life at a fairly early age. I keep saying that I had hair in those days, because I was influenced by the leadership of George Drew. George Drew, a man who in my mind has never received the tributes of the people of this province in the way that he should have received those tributes. He was the first Canadian public figure of my knowledge to show meaningful concern about the problems of foreign ownership and foreign control. 25 years ago, he initiated legislation in this province to restrict the export of certain unprocessed raw materials to the United States. And it was my privilege in recent years, with the solid backing of my colleagues, to follow his lead by imposing further restrictions on the export of unprocessed mineral resources. Yet so much more remains to be done to stop the drift of this nation to foreign domination and the ownership of our resources. It is not too late. Some of those in our party may be not so concerned as some of the rest of us. Others, I'm afraid, are rather faithfully resigned. I am not among them. I am not one of them, because I feel it to be imperative that we align with the new generation, the younger people, the largest of all in the mainstream of our society, and with their very passionate concern in this matter. I'm inspired by their concern. I believe that given the thrust of new leadership from Queen's Park, we can and we will stop the drift and begin the process of repossessing our natural heritage. I would also say that I began my active career in politics not only because of my real concern about Canadian ownership and Canadian control, but because of a genuine concern about the threat of socialism. And nothing has changed my view on that. The Socialist Party may have changed its name, may have attempted to mask its motives, but whatever its coat, whatever its color, we are all, I hope, opposed to Canadian socialism, to its collectivist policies, to its persistent class warfare, to its hypocrisy in bowing down to foreign-dominated union bosses, and to its ruthless and its irresponsible acts upon the record and the reputation of our provincial institutions and our public servants. When you count their opponents, count us all in on that one. My friends, the question you must resolve is one that those of us appealing to you, all of us tonight, can perhaps least help you to answer. The question really concerns the heart of the matter. Who among us can best renew our party? Who among us can kindle new enthusiasm? Who among us can realign our priorities and win the confidence of the uncommitted people of Ontario? And I invite you to ask your friends, ask your neighbors, allow them to be part of your decision. The question is not only who you will choose to lead, but who Ontario will want to follow. Who can best inspire the young voters and assure them of a role and a real place in our party? Who can best assure the independent voter that this party of ours has indeed been renewed and indeed be rededicated to their interests? And who will most effectively take the issues to the people and confront the cozy platitudes of socialism and invite men to be free and to seek to fulfill themselves in this province of real opportunity and promise? I'm not going to confront you tonight with my own opinion as to the answer. I'm rather biased. But, my friends, I do implore you to think upon what I've said. Take counsel among your friends. Take counsel among your fellow party members. And I await your answer. And I await their answer with confidence. And then, next week, on to that convention, on to the legislature, and on to the winning of the next election. Thank you very much.
I would now call upon the proposer for the Honorable Allan Lawrence, Mr. John Trimble. John Trimble.
Mr. President, distinguished visitors and delegates, my name's Trimble and I come from Hamilton. I'm the secretary of the Ontario Progressive Conservative Association, and I've held that post long enough almost to be a member of the establishment. And I've known Al Lawrence for over 25 years, and I want to tell you something about the Al Lawrence I know. I remember back in the 40s, the young law student, back in those days when nationally it wasn't very popular to be a conservative. And we sent that young law student out to the province of Manitoba to do a job for the YPCs, and he did it. And he did it well. And I remember the young lawyer who, when there was a vacancy for the legislature of Ontario, he fought for that nomination, and he fought hard, and he fought against some pretty tough competition. And he won that nomination, and he went out and fought and won the seat. And I remember the young member of the legislature who did his job and did it well. And the Toronto lawyer, my friends, the Toronto lawyer whom John P. Robarts made Minister of Mines, and he did that job and he did it well. This young man has labored for this party in good times and in bad. This young man has established an enviable record in his portfolio. He has demonstrated clearly to the people of Ontario in discharging his responsibilities that he's got ability and stability. That ability and that stability are now offered to you in terms of leadership for what, if I can borrow Mr. Frost's phrase, is this grand old party. Leadership for the new wave. The new wave which starts in Ontario tomorrow afternoon. That ability, that stability, you can offer to Ontario as their Prime Minister. When this party, under Allan Lawrence, seizes the 70s with vigor, with energy, a new wave, a new leader, a winner, Allan F. Lawrence.
would now call on the seconder, Mr. John Erickson. John Erickson.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Sirs, Mr. Drew and Mr. Frost, ladies and gentlemen, as I view this tremendous gathering, I must and I do believe that for this party, winning is just the beginning. There is no more appropriate description for a political happening such as this, and for the man who has really turned this convention on, Allan Lawrence. We are being called upon to elect a new leader with a new image, and in Allan Lawrence, we have a man who can win for us. The message that he has brought to this convention is the message of involvement by people of this party. And when all is said and done, this is a party composed of people. This is a party for people who want to participate in the deliberations and the responsibilities of government. And this promise of accessibility to government is not an empty promise. Those of us in northern and northwestern Ontario have seen Allan Lawrence at work, and we have tangible evidence that he is a man of action, he is a man of warmth, and he is a man who really cares. And so, on behalf of the people of this party who are involved now, who want to be involved, and on behalf of the people of Ontario who want this party to get moving, I take great pleasure in seconding the nomination of our next leader, our next premier, and our friend, Allan Lawrence.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Premier, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, I shall always be grateful to John Trimble of Hamilton and to John Erickson of Thunder Bay for placing my name in nomination this afternoon in the vigorous and forthright way they did. But at the outset, let me make one thing clear to everybody. If any other candidates, all of whom are not only my colleagues, but are also my friends, should be honored by your nomination as the leader of our party, he will have my good wishes, my goodwill, my loyalty, and my complete support in the days, months, and years that lie ahead. Now, for some of us at present, this is the the supreme moment of our political careers. Nothing we have ever done, nothing we will ever do, will ever be as important to us as this day, this night right now, the opportunity to lead the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario, the prospect of becoming confirmed as the Premier of this great province, and the challenge of following in the large footsteps of John Robarts and standing in the tradition of Leslie Frost and George Drew. Ladies and gentlemen, words will not do justice to the shared feelings of all of us on this occasion. I must also say to you, for myself and for my wife Moira, how much we have enjoyed the hospitality, the warmth, the affection which the people of Ontario have extended to us during the busy weeks of the campaign. We have had happy landings, we have had non-landings, and we have had crash landings. We have had good weather and bad weather. We have had triumphs, we have had trials. But the one main invariable has been the unfailing kindness of you, our fellow conservatives, our fellow citizens, your personal interest, your inspiration. Win, lose, or draw, Mr. Chairman, we already are the beneficiaries of a very, very great experience. Now, one can't complete a tour without having reached certain conclusions. And one of them is that a significant number of our fellow citizens have come to feel that the costs of government have about outrun its benefits. As well, there are many who feel that government has become remote from their concerns and indifferent to their needs. And let's face it, there are more and more of our fellow citizens who live outside our system of government today, who feel alienated by it, and who just feel left out of it. Now, as conservatives, we must accept these realities as a real challenge, a challenge to our free institutions by which we govern ourselves. If we are to maintain a system in which the individual matters, we ought to have a party in which individual participation is welcome. All right, if you agree with me on that, then we have to ask ourselves if we really do welcome examination. Do we really welcome criticism of our policies and our programs? If the response we give to criticism is merely an injured air, if our reaction to complaint is the suggestion of disloyalty, then we have shut the door on participation in the policy-making process. Ladies and gentlemen, if all we want is approval, then all we are going to get is idle flattery. Now, last night, all of us joined in a sincere and enthusiastic tribute to a great Canadian. No Premier of Ontario has governed more wisely and well. As I have said before, the people of Ontario owe much to John Robarts. But, ladies and gentlemen, they owe his successor nothing. What matters is not what we have done, but it is what we have to do. If you honor me by choosing me as your leader, I want you to know that I consider that only the beginning of your responsibilities to me and to our party. I not only want your endorsement tomorrow, I want your continuing active participation. I want more than a party organization present in Queen's Park. I want an organization that is a presence everywhere in Ontario, in our north, in our rural areas, in our cities and in our towns. Where the people are, where the action is, where the problems are found, that is where I want our party to be. We all want a party that has a life in the community, in daily contact with those people whose confidence and whose support we must have. This is what I mean when I say that yesterday's victories at the polls, yesterday's effective policies, and yesterday's governments are all now behind us. When we depart from this great convention, let us be ready to face new challenges, welcoming the renewal of our party, so that we will merit a new mandate from all of the people of Ontario. The conventions that chose John Robarts, that elected Leslie Frost, that elected George Drew, not only found new leadership, they also created a spirit of renewal in the party, finding new strength, new resources, and a new enthusiasm. It's been the history of our party, and basic to our continuing success, that every convention has produced real revitalization, not only at the top, but throughout the whole party. I believe that the Premier of Ontario, particularly at this time in our history, has as his first responsibility the task of putting the wealth, the power, the influence of Ontario to the service of preserving Confederation. Ontario's role is crucial and has never been as crucial as it is today. It would be presumptuous on my part to say that any candidate could duplicate the contribution of that man, John Robarts. But I do say to you that I would very much like to have the opportunity of following his example. It would be presumptuous of me to promise you that we would have the same success, but I do promise you, with all that I have in me, the same total commitment to the preservation of this Canadian nation. But now may be Canada's greatest opportunity to resolve the problems that for a century have been the seeds of disunity in our nation. Ontario's government cannot have any higher priority, 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 cannot have any higher priority for us. I do not know, my friends, what our Premier intends to do as he puts down the reins and the burdens of one of Canada's affairs. I shall always be grateful for the opportunity of serving in that capacity. Pledge to you and to the people of this who may consider pollution of following his example. It would be presumptuous of me to promise you that we would have the same success, but I do promise you, with all that I have in me, the same total commitment to the preservation of this Canadian nation. But now may be Canada's greatest opportunity to resolve the problems that for a century have been the seeds of disunity in our nation. Ontario's government cannot have any higher priority, cannot have any higher priority, cannot have any higher government, cannot have any higher priority, cannot have any... What our Premier intends to do is he puts down the reins and the burdens of the government. I know that there are some who may consider pollution to be merely a passing political fad. I know that most of our citizens regard it as a crisis, a crisis that requires forceful, resolute, uncompromising, and urgent government action now. And believe me, as one who lives in one of Canada's great cities, as one who has come to know the North, as a father, as a conservative who recognized the value of conservation, and as one who has just recently talked to hundreds and hundreds of the younger generation, I pledge to you and to the people of this province an unequivocal defense of our natural environment and an all-out attack on the problems of pollution. Mr. Chairman, I would like to be the first Premier of Ontario who comes to that office from the Ministry of Northern Affairs. I shall always be grateful for the opportunity of serving in that capacity. One learns from it not only the vast challenge of our geography, but the great dimensions of our real opportunities. One learns of the need of not only drawing together the various regions of this province, but also the necessity of bringing government closer to the people. In the Ontario of tomorrow, we will better know and understand our people, and I intend to hurry that day. The delegates to this convention have a choice to make, which all of us, I hope, recognize as vital to our party and to our province. Every delegate is free to make his own decision. To that end, I am not asking that you be an Allan Lawrence man, but that everyone who enters that voting booth tomorrow be his own man. This, tomorrow, is your decision, and you have no proxy, you have no obligation, save to your own wisdom and your own judgment. And I'm confident that your decision, confident that it will represent your true opinion as to what will be best for our party and our province. But whatever your decision, I shall accept it with gratitude. I thank you for the opportunity you have provided in allowing me to participate in the process of the renewal of our great party. Because when we next go to the people of Ontario, we will then be appealing to all, in the cities, in the towns, in the countryside. We'll be appealing to the youth and to the old, to labor and to business, and to the farmer. We will be inviting the support of those in other parties and those of no party. I ask only that you choose from among us the man who in your heart and in your mind you believe can best represent you and this party to all of Ontario. The man who can best lead our party renewed, rededicated to the task of serving our province in this decade of the 70s. I do ask for your support. Winning is just the beginning.
Final vote figures. Mr. Davis received 812 votes. Mr. Allan Lawrence, 768.
I'd like to now call on Allan Lawrence. Allan Lawrence.
I wonder if we could have one more ballot. I'd like to move that we have one more ballot and that we make it unanimous. Bill Davis. Join together, everyone.
Everyone,